At last, I have my ideal Spider-Man figure.
Aren't you a bit too old for toys?
Gang, do you know who my favorite superhero ever is? No. You know what? Scratch that. Do you know who the greatest superhero ever is?
It's Spider-Man! Hyphen!
Spider-Man has been my absolute favorite superhero ever since I was but a small ankle biter. I actually still have the Toy Biz 18-inch one that I carried around everywhere as a kid. My three favorite incarnations of this character would be the Sam Raimi trilogy, which, in spite of its flaws, are still good films, mostly, followed by the spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, and finally, Spider-Man 1967.
Wallop and web snappers!
Oh yeah, I even rate this higher than Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield's versions of the character. So when Mezco announced a classic comic-era Spider-Man figure, I was 1000% committed to getting one, because I knew this was probably the closest figure we were ever gonna get to that 1967 cartoon version. And after receiving it, from the second I opened that box, I was the happiest clam in the sea. But enough backstory. It's time I showed you all this figure that I've desperately wanted since I was a small Spider fan.
Okay, world, better hang on to your hat. You're about to meet the original web-swinging wonder.
Mezco's 112 collective line is something I've wanted to try for a few years now, and who better to start with than the old webhead himself. The Figuarts Tobey Maguire Spider-Man used to be what I considered as the best Spider-Man figure, but I think he's just been replaced in that hierarchy. This thing hits just about all the right notes for me, and I would even dare to say, in a sentence lined with a touch of personal bias, that this is the perfect Spider-Man figure.
Convince me!
For those who are unfamiliar with Mezco's 112 collective line, think of these as mini Hot Toys figures. Which does make me a little nervous about certain things, but more on that in a second. Basically, it's a 6-inch figure with real fabric clothing, good articulation, and way more accessories than I have nice things to say about Diamond Select or McFarlane Toys.
Loser! You're a loser!
The red parts of the suit almost feel like they're screen printed or some kind of print transfer. Which leads me to my first concern I have with this figure, and it's not really a giant issue, well, at least not yet, and that's when you pose the arms, the red parts crease. My concern here, as someone who likes to display figures in very stylistic or dynamic poses, is that if left creased for long enough, these will either become deep folds or, God forbid, start cracking. But I guess that remains to be seen, because this figure is still brand new and I haven't had the chance to leave it posed long enough. I will say the material feels of decent quality at least. I would also be careful with the blue parts of the suit since they're a thin material and feels like they can snag pretty easily. The gloves, boots, head and neck are all made of plastic, but the color match of the costume is pretty on point. The web lines are also sculpted, enhanced further with black paint. A common critique you'll hear of this figure is some folks say his head's too big.
Look at the size of that boy's head.
Which, yeah, I can see that, but also keep in mind Spider-Man is a teenager, and I don't know about you, but when I was a teenager, I too was built like a number 2 pencil with a jackball on it, so I'm not too bothered by this. As any quality Spider-Man figure should, this one has good articulation. You can't see any of it with the fabric suit, so it's good to be cautious while posing to avoid breaking something. The neck and head are ball-jointed. There's a diaphragm and waist ball joint for decent crunch, but these can be a bit finicky. The rest is pretty standard for a modern 6-inch figure. Double-jointed knees and elbows, the thigh swivel, all that stuff. What's odd is the ankles are ball-jointed, so the range is far more limited than I was expecting. Also, everything moves super smooth and stays put really well. This Spidey figure is a ton of fun to pose. And you best believe he can pull off poses from the old cartoon with ease. Now I know what you're thinking, gang, but what accessories does he come with?
You read minds, too.
And the answer to that question is a lot. He comes with a lot of stuff. He has 2 trays full of accessories, plus an additional one hiding in the tray with the stand. I don't even know where to begin, so might as well start with tray 1, I suppose. He's got 4 additional heads for 5 total. The default one is this narrow-eyed one, but you also get one with widened eyes, a half Peter Parker, half Spidey head, an unmasked Peter Parker head, and one with even wider eyes that lights up for a spider sense effect. What's really cool is Mezco includes the tiny little batteries with the figure, so you don't need to march down to the hardware store and find some yourself.
Well now, wasn't that nice?
Also, they threw in this little tool to help you flick the switch easier, instead of searching around for that tiny screwdriver which you know you have but you didn't put away last time, so you have no clue where it is right now. Believe me, the pain of that hour-long search in vain is very real. Even though I won't be using the light up feature much, it's still kinda neat. In addition, he has a trusty pair of spectacles for the unmasked Peter Parker head, but I won't use these much either because he didn't wear glasses in the '67 cartoon. Even though the resemblance is clearly for the early comics, if you squint real hard, it does kinda maybe potentially partially sorta resemble the old '67 cartoon. The heads swap out pretty easy, though the upper ball joint on the large-eyed head on mine is loose for some reason. It's still serviceable, but kind of annoying. To go along with the heads, he has a spider sense effect that has its very own dedicated stand arm for easier display. He also has his small pocket camera to take pictures that aren't good enough for Jameson. What I like about this is it has 2 neck straps that are optional in the first place, which is fantastic. One of these is molded specifically for around his neck, and the other is made to hang down, but can also be used more creatively as well. There's a web backpack, with straps, in your face classified, and a Daily Bugle newspaper with in-universe stories printed on it. He comes with his spider tracer receiver too. A personal favorite accessory of mine, the face webbing. But it only works on Doc Ock once though.
Not this time. I sprayed my glasses.
There's a web parachute, which can also be a hammock, or the lower part can be used as the web slingshot. Speaking of webs, we got lots going on here, some of which are standard for modern Spidey figures and others not so much. You've got your small thwip effect, a long rigid web for swinging poses. Mezco also gives you a bendy wire web to make your own swinging poses, a certified classic, the web lasso, and another favorite of mine, the web shield.
This calls for a spectral shield.
They also include 6 spider tracers. I have no idea why 6, 2 probably would have been enough, but there you go. If you thought we were done, you were mistaken because there's still more. Here is the tray of hands he comes with. There's 2 open grip hands to hold the mask accessory he has, though the right one works better than the left one for this. There's a pair of what I interpret as open gesture hands, a pair of wall crawlers, a pair specifically to hold the camera, a tight grip pair for web swinging poses, wide open hands, thwippers, of course, and 1 pointing and 1 thumbs up hand, which, if you're basing this on the 60s cartoon like I am, are also both thwippers, because I don't think he ever actually does the proper hand sign in that show. And finally, after all that, an articulated display stand, a hard rubber Spidey mat, which I don't know the purpose of, and something that I've only seen Figma do until now, a plastic baggie to hold all his crap if you don't want to keep the box.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
I am so impressed with all his accessories and the detail on them. Normally this is the part where I'd say something along the lines of, "It's nice, but I wish it had X." For example, Freerin had no suitcase, Cobra Commander didn't have a normal gun, Indiana Jones didn't have gloved hands, little critiques like that. But I can't think of anything I'd give this figure. I really think Mezco covered all the bases here and then some, at least for me anyway. I'm sure you've guessed this already, but this figure did come with a pretty tall retail price. We got this one for $120 US plus shipping.
That's outrageous. Done.
Okay, now objectively speaking, is this actually the world's greatest Spider-Man figure? Well, no. It does have a few things keeping it from that title, such as some limited articulation on account of the fabric suit, or lack of engineering for whatever reason, like in the feet for example, and of course the red parts of the fabric suit being highly susceptible to wear and creasing over time. But even with the issues, I'm still gonna let my bias take the wheel here and say it is the best Spidey, simply because it's a good figure that reminds me of the awesome, yet goofy, 67 cartoon, which is all I've ever wanted. If nothing else, this thing sure is a lot of fun, so I might just need to find some more Mezco stuff now. Good! Oh yeah!
Hello, good evening. I am the Green Goblin.
I may have already got more Mezco figures. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, no need to worry. I don't have an addictive personality.